Digestion in man is a complex process, and it occurs in gastrointestinal tract, also known as GI tract, and it is tubular tract. And now we will see that the composition of this tubular tract, which first of all consists of a oral cavity. Oral cavity in turn consists of a mouth and tongue, and it has got salivary glands, and it then pushes the food to the esophagus, which is a tubular structure. From the esophagus, food is pushed to this sac-like structure, which is known as stomach. And we can see here the presence of accessory organs, the liver, gallbladder, and the pancreas. These actually aid in the digestion of food, and food from stomach then goes to the small intestine. Small intestine consists of three parts, which are jejunum and ileum. And from small intestine, the food then goes to the large intestine. And the large intestine ends at a structure which is called as a rectum, and it temporarily stores the undigested food particles, and then undigested food particle is passed out of the body via the anus. We can see here the end of the stomach, which leads to the small intestine, has got sphincter, which is known as pyloric sphincter. We will see the detail of the digestive system in slides to come, and in this module we will start with the digestion in oral cavity. Actually, digestion starts in oral cavity, and the process of digestion begins with the selection of food. And we can see here oral cavity consists of tongue and palate, which is divided into soft palate. This area is known as soft palate, and this is hard palate. And then we have teeth inside the mouth cavity, which are helpful in the grinding of the food. So we will look at the selection of food, which is actually aided by the tongue, which has got taste buds, and taken it is also aided by the sense of smell, sense of taste, and sense of sight. If the food looks good and smells good, it is taken inside the mouth or the oral cavity, and inside the oral cavity, food is hard, for example, bone, or it is dirt, so it is rejected out immediately. In other cases, the process of digestion begins right in the oral cavity. First of all, the grinding or mastication of food begins, and it is aided with the help of the teeth, mostly by the molars. The food is broken down actually into smaller pieces right in the oral cavity, so as the food particles can be easily moved through the esophagus and then ultimately to the stomach. And lubrication and digestion process is aided with the help of salivary glands. And inside the oral cavity, humans have three kinds of salivary glands. Number one is a sublingual gland, which is situated below the tongue. And then we have submaxillary glands, which are located behind the jaws. And then we have parotid glands, which are situated below the tongue. And actually these three glands secrete saliva, which aids in the digestion or which aids in the lubrication of food. Saliva in turn consists of three components. For example, number one is water and mucus, and it helps in the softening and lubrication of food. And then there is sodium bicarbonate, and sodium bicarbonate actually is antiseptic, and its function is to stabilize the pH of the food. Fresh saliva is alkaline, and it has got pH of 8, and it quickly loses carbon dioxide, and the pH gets to 6. And then we have ptyalin, which is enzyme and which helps in the digestion of carbohydrate, and it converts glycogen to maltose. After the digestion process here, the process of swelling occurs. It is actually the process in which the food is moved down the esophagus so as to enter in the stomach, where the actual process of digestion will begin. And here it has to be noted that food should not enter the windpipe or the respiratory tract. Instead, it should go to the esophagus. So in order to avoid the clash of the food or the entry of the food to the windpipe, larynx closes, and epiglottis, which is a lid of a glottis, which is entry to the windpipe, it diverts the food to one side of the opening and safely down the esophagus. So when the food moves to the esophagus, peristalsis occurs. Peristalsis is actually the rhythmic contractions or wave-like contractions. It takes place with the help of the longitudinal and circular muscles of the esophagus. And this peristalsis actually occurs throughout the respiratory tract whenever the food have to move to the next region. You can see here that during the process of peristalsis, when the food is there, or partially digested food, we can also call as bolus. It is moved here in the intestine. The muscles are relaxed. There is a layer of muscle which are contracted. And when food has to go there, it will relax. So by this rhythmic contractions or wave-like contractions, the food moves from esophagus down the stomach. And we have to note here that in addition to the movement of food from upward region to the downward region, food can also move in opposite direction, that is anti-peristalsis, which is a phenomena which causes the vomiting of food. So this is all about the digestion in oral cavity. Now we will look into the details of digestion in stomach in our next module.